There are many valid ethical concerns around the use of AI. Look, I don't like a lot of what's happening with AI. I don't like that artists' work are being used without consent. I don't like that creative jobs are already being cut. I don't like the environmental costs, and I especially don't like how fast it's moving without regulation or transparency. I'm not going to tell you to get over it or embrace the future. I believe that kind of thinking ignores real harm. But I also don't think that the answer is disengagement, because that has its own risks, especially in our field where we're already underfunded, understaffed, and often late adopters of tech. So here's where I land. We can stay in the conversation, we can push back and draw lines, and we can choose to use AI in ways that support our values, not replace them. This means using it to work smarter and not eliminate roles. It means being thoughtful about sources and licensing. And it means staying informed enough to shape how it shows up in our work. We want to make sure that we're the ones to shape it before somebody else does. Okay, yes, artists are influenced by what surrounds them. But that's not the same as wholesale ingestion and replication at scale without consent or credit. Today's tools often don't let us choose what they were trained on, but we can choose how we use them and where we draw the line. If we respect licensing in other creative work like photography or fonts or music, we must extend that same respect to AI-generated content. If we wouldn't copy a designer's work ourselves, we shouldn't prompt a machine to do it either. And we can advocate for tools that prioritize licensed consent-based data, because consent and credit should not be optional in any creative field. We think it's really important to educate internal teams on responsible prompting. While AI is impressive, it doesn't replicate emotional depth, intuition, or lived experience. But some jobs are being restructured or replaced. Our role as arts administrators should be to protect creative labor and not replace it. That means using AI to support people and not as a shortcut to fewer jobs. I think Klarna is actually a really good example of this. They were very vocal about AI's potential. They created a chatbot and they fired the majority of their customer service team. Just 3 months later, this past May, they very publicly realized the mistake they made and they quickly started rehiring their team back. They also released a public statement. AI gives us speed, talent gives us empathy. Together, we can deliver service that's fast when it should be and empathetic and personal when it needs to be. I believe that the same is true of creativity. It still needs a human driver. AI's environmental footprint isn't theoretical. It's pretty significant. Generative models, especially for image and video, consume substantial energy resources that translate into real-world carbon emissions. We have to get more disciplined. If something can be done by a human with minimal effort, that's probably the greener option. Think of it as digital conservation, similar to everyday habits like turning off lights when leaving a room or turning off the water while brushing your teeth. When an AI model gives you what you need, don't extend the session with unnecessary follow-ups. Or if you're shifting to a new topic in a conversation, start a fresh chat rather than building on previous exchanges. This prevents the system from processing everything that came before. These small choices add up when adopted across an organization. We should also continue to be advocating for environmental transparency from all of the vendors. And finally, bias and hallucination. AI reflects what it's trained on. It doesn't know what's true or biased or inappropriate. So while you can guide and check outputs, we also need to recognize the limits. Marketing strategy and execution still need humans to interpret tone, audience, and truth. And through prompting and iteration, we can reduce bias and correct inaccuracies. I really want to normalize rejecting AI outputs. I do it all the time in my own work. AI is not the final word, it's a rough draft. I know that this isn't perfect, but it's a start. We don't need to pretend that AI is good to recognize that it's here. What we do need is a shared sense of ethics, a commitment to using it consciously, and the courage to say no when it crosses a line. That's how we protect what makes our work human without falling behind.